It is time to take you on a little 3-day cruise. It is late October, it's early in the morning, and look what's rolling in.
So what's happening at the helm?
I am doing my weather check. So we've been planning this little 3-day trip to Bridgeport, Connecticut from Catskill, New York, and trying to find the right combination of days at the end of October, early November can be tough. And it magically, these days came together. And if this is to be believed, we're leaving today and the wind is not even blowing at all. And it's not really supposed to for much in the next 3 days. So yeah, just going over my my checklists. Our pre-departure checklists have been done. Pre-startup checklists are next. Gonna plug in our route, and we are having some special friends join us. And
yeah, this is also.
Of course, this guy is ready.
That's also happening.
Are you
at the helm.
prepping? Why can't you check the oil?
Anyway, it should be a really fun trip. It's a really cool 3-day run. Pretty easy days. The first is the longest, heading to Croton, New York, then on to Port Washington, and then to Bridgeport, Connecticut. So I'm going to get back to work here. You go do what you need to do.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know what that is.
I'm
Coffee.
I'm having a cup of coffee.
A cup of coffee would be good.
We're also going to have to look out for debris on the river.
I know. Actually, while I got you,
Roxanne.
still here? I just saw a huge log floating.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah. And you may as well show this off because the fog's going to burn off. Right now, the temperature's like 34 degrees. Dew point is around 28. Hopefully, the dew point will hold and as the temperature goes up. And that fog, that's the Hudson River out there.
Wow.
I wouldn't go out yet.
That looks like the end of the world.
Look at this. That is a 60-foot, I believe, Choi Lee sailing vessel. If you can see that coming down the creek. They were waiting for this weather too, so I guess we'll see them. We will pass them. It'll be interesting to see how many hours from now we pass them. Anyway, I got to get the sunshade off because we're running from inside. No running from the bridge and suffering. We're going to have the heat on. I'm going to take off this beautiful cover that our friend Sherry and Marathon made for us.
I mean, this is just spectacular. And that heat coming from inside is even more spectacular. Looks like we have our guests arriving.
Special guests arriving. We have guest crew coming down the dock. These are actually two Hudson Valley celebrities in their own right. Captain.
Like we just came out of a bus stop.
Captain Russ got the Helly Hansons on. Very nice.
Very nice.
Jasper!
And I see.
I like the two-tone.
I see wife Pam is carrying the majority of the
Oh
bags.
my goodness. Look at that.
Well, Jasper's excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us. Are you excited?
We're excited.
Okay.
I'm extremely
Come on board.
Look at her.
What did your husband make you do? Take all the bags.
We drink and eat too much. Let's put it that way, okay?
I mean, this is a 3-day trip. This is, turning into, well, I don't even want to make a Gilligan's Island reference.
Would you like to reenact that?
No, did you see? Did you hear what
This is our
happened?
version of the ice capades out here.
We just got finished having the conversation that this is ice. Now it is.
Is it really ice?
Oh yeah.
It's. I literally just slipped and banged my shins after we just had that discussion. We have to be very careful. So when you're handling lines,
That side's melted, so you're okay in the sun, but this area is ice.
Okay.
So the plan, I think, generator at 9, lines about 9:15.
Okay.
That shore power is going to be nice and stiff going back in.
You are planning on tying up on what side for fuel?
Yeah, for fuel because the current's running out, so we'll just spin the boat and then spin it again. and
So we'll keep
just
it. We'll
leave
keep the
everything.
lines up. Okay. Swab those decks.
Love having crew.
I would once it melts.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
be really careful.
Okay. I will.
Well, the sunshade hasn't been off in a while, so it's filthy under here. Although the windows are clean, which is good.
We'll show them how clean they are. Stand by.
Tell me if they are clean enough.
They look pretty dirty from out in here.
Shall we start the generator?
Great idea.
Great.
We're going to need that today.
And by the way, if you're going to hear me, I got to turn the heat off. The generator has fresh oil, has a fresh zinc, has fresh fuel filters, and even has a fresh air filter. I haven't changed that air filter in a while, and it was due. So generator should be good to go. I've checked it out. Preheating for 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. We have pressure, and now I will take the camera from you, and we will make sure we have water flow, which I can hear because we have pretty significant water flow. So that's a good thing. Are you happy?
We're happy?
I'm happy.
It's a good sound. It's a
So
good
I
sound.
would say lines in 13 minutes.
So, Captain, what are you doing there?
Well, I'm hooking up our GoPro camera that we always use, except it's going to slide around. So I'm tying it securely here. This is how it happens. Don't look at the dirty deck. I'm embarrassed by this, but it's...
And it's
been
going to
too
slide
cold to
around
clean.
because it's freezing.
40
Yeah. How's that cord cleaning going down there?
It's going well. We
Oh.
actually, just smarty pants, we actually clean the cord as it goes into.
Well, no, I was
you wanted
I was
me to do it
offering
now?
you that opportunity, so you know, that's all.
Okay.
was just trying-
But at least
No, I
we
was
have
trying to
the
make it
Helly
easier on you.
Hansen boatwear on.
That's right.
We just want to look good on the dock.
and so you do.
Team Haley Hansen getting that shore power in. Watch out there, Russ. Those lines will get you.
Well, Tim's done such a great job cleaning it. I want to make sure that we don't add any other dirt onto it.
Don't need to preheat the engine anymore. It was good to have those on last night. And we are now going to get ready to fire them up and get out of here. Those are yours. If you want to just give Tim a thumbs up on the water flow, I'm going to go starboard, then port on the engines. Okay, you ready for starboard engine? Starboard coming online. Engine temperature 97 because we had the preheaters on, so that's a good way to start. Water flow, I've been told, is good, and pressure is good. Fuel flow is good. Here comes your port engine. Port engine online. Pressure's coming up. Transmission and engine oil. And I'm waiting for flow report. Flow report. All right, we got a good flow report. Going through our checklist, our rudder is centered. We have good water flow, stabilizer, cooling water, Admiral. Yes, we have that. Engage our helm station here. We're going to go into low idle to get off the dock. We're going to turn our stern thruster on. Our bow thruster is on. Our yacht controller is on, and it's going to start beeping at me feverishly if I don't do that. And then in just a moment, we're going to bump the gears as we always do. Make sure everything is working as it should before we drop the lines, and then we will confirm our departure plan. We're going to test thrusters. Bow thruster is good. Stern bow thruster is good. Stern thruster coming on. Let's make sure she knows.
Jasper, you ready?
Very slippery. We're bumping gears. Hold on. Here comes your port forward. Port reverse.
Jasper, how are you feeling about this trip? Be careful, it's slippery out here, Jasper.
Starboard reverse.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Ooh.
So if you want to come over here, we're going to go over our plan. So what would you like to do for lines?
I'm gonna.
Bow to stern?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I'm gonna do the rear spring. Then I'll go do the bow. And then I'll do the forward spring, and then I'll do the stern.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be drifting back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. We have a plan. Traffic check on the creek. I think I know how that's going to work out.
You had a fish.
We do have a little
fisherman.
fish and go right here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to sound horn real quick. Coming off the dock. Well, it was at this point that I realized something was up with our bow thruster. It just wasn't giving us the full power we know it's capable of. As you just saw, we always check the functionality of our thrusters before we leave the dock, and while they were working, for some reason I didn't quite pick up on the diminished power. I will be much more tuned to that moving forward. I just wanted to show you what we're looking at
Oh
here.
my goodness,
Isn't that
yes.
amazing?
Ah, how beautiful.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's stunning, other than the fact that we have to get through it.
So before we hit the river, we're actually stopping just to take on a little bit of fuel. This trip will take us below our 10% reserve, which I don't like to do. So we are going to stop at Riverview Marine and see Mike and take on some diesel. So we're spinning around just on the sticks right now to do this, which is normally what we do in close quarters. We do not use rudder because rudder is pretty ineffective at slower speeds. We do get a lot of people asking about that. So as we pulled into the fuel dock, the thruster was barely doing a thing. Not ideal, as we were pulling into a pretty tight spot and the current was starting to pick up. But we just took our time and did it the old-fashioned way. We love having thrusters, don't get me wrong, but we always preach the need to be able to maneuver without them so you're prepared should they fail, as was the case here. They are a great tool to have in the toolbox, but we have them because they're really nice to have, not because we can't dock without them. Well, there is Mike, Riverview Marine's world-famous Mike. How many decades here?
45 years.
45 years, and this could be the swan song right now. So, as we always say, we blame Mike and Sue by default, and that's Sue, for the fact that we have such a big boat, because our boating, our Hudson River boating really started up here, so I gotta go pay him one last time.
Started here at
He
Riverview.
really owes us money. You know, and I've told Mike the story a lot, but you're responsible for the fact that we have this big boat. Yeah, because we rented a little tin
what
boat.
do I owe you? About
Yeah.
$500,000?
Exactly.
Or,
So we rented this little tin can
or
from
so,
him.
yeah.
And, but Mike is a Catskill legend and has served the community well, and it's
Legend,
time for you to
okay.
enjoy yourself.
I will.
This is
Yeah,
a little,
I'm
it's a
gonna
little
do my
melancholy,
best.
man.
I'm going to do my best.
All right, I'm going to shake your hand for the video now so I can actually give you some money. All right, so we still have Russ swabbing the decks. We're waving goodbye to Mike and Sue. Here we go, Jasper. All right, time to go. We start recording our tracks on Navionics. We do it on Aquamap as well, and we're going to fire up Nebo so we can log our trip on the Nebo, and friends can pay attention to where we are. Fire back up. Switch over so I pay attention to our load. Engine load. Thrusters are on. So I'm going to drift back a little bit as I'm coming off, okay? Yeah, so I'm just letting the boat do its thing and take us off on its own. It's working easier. Let's get out to the river. Underway
Here
at
we go.
9:59.
Oh,
What
is
was the
that
plan?
not perfect?
What
10
was the
o'clock?
plan?
Oh
10
my
o'clock?
goodness, I can't take this.
Since we're leaving Riverview for the last time before he closes up shop.
Yes, yeah.
Our horn is suffering from the cold too. Okay. All right, so we are underway. It was kind of a little sketchy start that we didn't expect, pulling into Riverview to get fuel, but we topped off the fuel. So today, here's our basic plan. This first day underway, on this windless day going down the Hudson, we're heading to Croton on the Hudson, Half Moon Bay Marina. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but it's about a 63 nautical mile run. It's amazing because it just worked out that we have the current behind us. There's zero wind, but we have the current pushing us. So at our normal engine speed, 1200 RPMs, where our speed's about 10 knots with no effective wind and current. We're doing 11.5 knots now, and we're also going to have favorable currents tomorrow. But in the course of this trip, if I'm not mistaken, at least on the Hudson River, we're going to pass 3 lighthouses. We have Saugerties. So if everybody's with me now, we have Saugerties, we have the Esopus Meadows and the Kingston Light, right? And then you can't forget the little red lighthouse under the George Washington Bridge. People forget about that. But in terms of the ones that are right on the water, do you know what Saugerties, where the word Saugerties comes from?
I do not.
It is Dutch for sawmill. Yeah, and this is the Saugerties Lighthouse. So from the category of you never know what you're going to see on the Hudson River, we're approaching a boat that looks like it's sitting at anchor just north of the Kingston Rhinecliff Bridge. So we pull up the AIS and see it is Arriva, a 48-meter yacht which is at anchor. We did a little research. It's a Turkish-built boat that was built in 2001, refit in 2008. It was owned by Johnny Depp, and apparently J.K. Rowling fell so in love with the boat that she purchased it from Johnny Depp. So it's really cool to see this boat anchored out, and she truly is a beauty. They're enjoying some really beautiful fall weather, I'm sure, before heading down to the Caribbean or out to the Bahamas or some place like that. So lighthouse number 2 that we're passing on our first day underway, the Kingston Light. Kingston, by the way, the original capital of New York. 1777, the British burned it to the ground. Apparently some boats of theirs snuck up the river and they were able to do that. Kingston as a harbor is actually, it's a place we love to visit if we're just getting away for a few days, and it has more services, according to the Waterway Guide, than any other port between, I guess, New York and Albany. So feast your eyes, and that is the Rondout Creek. You don't have your own boat, what a perfect day to go for a cruise on a riverboat. And that is the Rip Van Winkle, which is based out of Kingston. It actually docks right near where we typically tie up at the Rondout Yacht Basin and the Maritime Museum. So we're now passing the last of the lighthouses we'll pass today, and it really is the southernmost of the very old lighthouses that are right on the river as you're heading down from the Albany area. This is the Esopus light, and it keeps you honest when you're going through Esopus Meadows. Visually, it looks like you could just go straight. At least when you're looking out on the river, it looks like you want to go straight, but the truth is, if you just go straight, that's going to be a problem because it's grass flats. This one was actually built in 1872 after the last one was wrecked by ice. Everything going well at the helm?
Everything's going great.
Seems to be running quite well.
Thank you for captaining while I eat.
Well, thank you for letting me.
Everybody gets a look. Yeah.
So the trip has been going well. We're just moving right along. There's very little traffic out on the river, which you normally would expect this time of year, but being such a beautiful day and the temps are now in the low 50s, we thought we would see more boats. Anyway, we're in Poughkeepsie. We just passed Vassar College, and we're coming up on the Mid-Hudson Bridge right now. One of the two bridges here is the walkway across the Hudson, which was a really cool way to preserve the old bridge. And then passing Shadows Marina, a place where we have stayed several times. We have some boating friends there. Still a couple of boats remain on site, and it looks like the 60-foot Choi Lee sailboat that left before us this morning has tied up there.
Coming right up, we take you through one of the most spectacular parts of the Hudson River. And when we went to dock for the night, did our bow thruster show up? We'll be right back. If you'd like more real-time updates on our adventures, well, you'll find us on Instagram and also on Facebook. There's also lots more on our website, and if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them here in the comments section or reach out on one of our other platforms. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, so we are about to head under the Newburgh Beacon Bridge that connects the two cities of Newburgh and Beacon, New York. And we're doing it not under the main span because we just made passing arrangements with the barge who said you are good to go under the secondary span, and this actually gives us almost a little bit of a shortcut. But what's interesting about Newburgh is even though it is 60 miles inland from the Atlantic Ocean, it was actually a big seaport back in the 1800s, and it actually was a place where George Washington had his headquarters. So definitely, you know, part of the very rich history of this entire area, which you just feel every time you go up and down this river.
Well, once you're south of Newburgh, you come upon one of the most iconic landmarks of a trip on the Hudson, Pollepel Island, also known as Bannerman Island. It's a 6.5-acre island with a rich history, most notably as a storage facility, which was used for the Bannerman family's military surplus business. The remnants of the castles that Francis Bannerman built for his arsenal and a residence are on full display from the river and the eastern shoreline, and there are some really cool ways to experience the island available through the Bannerman Castle Trust. Their website has all that info, and it's worth checking out.
All right, so we have just entered World's End, which is really the piece of the river that is among our very favorites, just because
Debris on the
Yeah, I see. There's a lot. Russ just pointing out a lot of debris. But it really is one of the most spectacular parts, and it's the part that includes West Point and brings you to the Bear Mountain Bridge, which is really one of the most spectacular parts of the entire trip. West Point Military Academy was founded in 1802. It is the oldest of the 5 American service academies, and it educates cadets for commissioning into the United States Army. This whole area of the Hudson is notorious for collecting debris, probably because of the curves and the way the currents run through here, so you want to be especially diligent with looking out. And then you arrive at the Bear Mountain Bridge. We love it here. It's one of the narrowest spots on the river, but also one of the deeper areas with depths upwards of 140 feet. The bridge opened in 1924, and in addition to carrying around 18,000 cars across its span every day, it also carries the Appalachian Trail and New York State Bicycle Route 9 across the Hudson.
Wow.
Just about 5 miles south of the bridge, you're at the top of Haverstraw Bay, which can be really nasty under the influence of strong winds and currents. But as you can see, that wasn't even close to the case on this beautiful day. All right, so we're about 10 minutes out from the marina. I'm going to hail now, and here's a little helpful boater hint. When you're hailing a marina, unless you're from a very far distance, try them first on low power if you have to hail them on channel 16, because not everybody in the world needs to hear you hailing the marina and potentially interfering with other important traffic. All right, so Steve called us on the phone, and we had a radio-like conversation on the phone. He was apologetic. He's tending to a lot of repairs and things, but he gave us our dockage instructions. One other little helpful boater reminder: always remember to turn off your radar before you pull into a marina. We run our radar whenever we are underway, but if we're ever in close quarters with buildings or marinas, it always shuts off, and we don't want to be that boat with the radar spinning at the marina once we've docked. Anyway, I gotta focus on the dockage right now, and looking forward to that arrival cocktail. Half Moon Bay Marina is on the river's eastern shoreline in Croton-on-Hudson. Now, the approach from the main channel in Haverstraw Bay isn't marked, but it's really straightforward, and we found the charted depths to be accurate all the way in. We really think this is the nicest marina in the area. Now, we last stayed there back in 2007, and the reason we haven't returned was because back then, large dogs weren't allowed to walk on the condo property, meaning Seven, our 90-pound pit lab mix, had to ride in a dock cart. Seven didn't seem to mind, but that kept us away. So before this trip, we spoke with Steve, who's been running this marina for decades, and he let us know that that policy hasn't existed for years, and Jasper was absolutely welcome. Steve is simply an awesome guy, so accommodating, and we were so glad we returned. Anyway, as always, just before entering the basin, we tested our bow thruster, and as suspected, it wasn't working. Not a problem, particularly on this calm day, but it's always good to know something like that before you try to use it. It's a pretty easy approach. I wouldn't want to have any traffic coming at me while I'm coming through here. It's not too tight, but it's, you know, it'd be a tight pass with another vessel coming through. Well, there you go. Your first this was your biggest trip ever on OLOH. We ran from inside. A beautiful day, right, Admiral?
Yes,
behind
beautiful
the camera.
day.
Jasper's very
I
excited.
am behind the camera.
It turned out to be, we thought it would be about a 6.5-hour day. It was a 7-hour day.
Okay.
Bow thruster. Russ and I have to dig down into the bilge and see if we can figure out why, for the first time ever, our bow thruster is not working. So we will do that. Thank you, guys. It's great to have you aboard.
Yeah.
Arrival cocktail.
Have a great day on OLOH and on Hudson River.
And to Half Moon Bay for having us.
Yeah, it's great being at Half Moon Bay once again.
Thank
Good
you,
to be
Steve.
back. Thank you, Steve.
Lovely, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that hits the spot.
Before we wrap it up for the day, just out with Jasper, walking around Croton-on-Hudson, but look how beautiful. This marina is in such a beautiful spot. There's the western side of the Hudson River, and of course, The sun just went down, and there's OLOH. Here, I'll zoom in. Right there. Good night. Be sure to check out our next video to finish your ride down the Hudson with us and head out to the Long Island Sound. Oh, and what was up with that bow thruster failure after all? We'll also fill you in on that. For now, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, we always appreciate a like, and be sure to subscribe and whack that notification bell so you don't miss a nautical mile of the adventures of OLOH.